Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about Avatar: The Way of Water once more and just give some final impressions over what I think the movie will be ahead of its pending release. Now, I've done a previous video talking about whether audiences will be as hyped up for the sequel, and you can check that out and I'll leave a link within the description. Now, as we all know, this is the sequel to the 2009 science fiction epic directed by James Cameron, still standing today as the highest grossing movie of all time at $2.9 billion. And recently the final trailer dropped for the movie prior to its release on December the 15th. And to be honest, I have the same feelings as what I did with the previous trailer. It all looks very pretty and visually pleasing on the eye, all nice on a surface level, but beneath that it just feels lifeless, which may seem strange to say, but it's true. Having all of the looks is one thing, but if there's nothing there to connect you, to make you emotionally invested, nothing to engage you, then it doesn't mean anything. And that's something that probably relates to life as well as entertainment, but there it is. Now, to be fair, this was a much better trailer than the previous one. Whilst we still got all of the ponderous scenes with all of the Na'vi swimming underwater, the whole tone again feeling more like an underwater documentary than an actual narrative, we did get a bit more action and spectacle, even though again it feels like we're repeating beats of the original. Now, the big issue with all of this and the promotion is, what is the story? What is the main plot? What are we going to watch aside from fancy visuals? Now, many will have their own preferences, but for me, story and characters are what's most important in terms of movies rather than the visuals. It's these elements that truly engage the audience. And so far, in terms of the sequel and all of the build-up and marketing, the story is still vague. From what I can tell from watching this trailer, the main character from the first film, Jake, who we saw merging with the Na'vi organism at the end of the first film, now has a family to care for, who I think grow up pretty fast from what we see of all of the sequences. Again, maybe when we go into the film, there'll be some sort of time-jumping narrative to explain multiple years since the first film. And it seems that they have ambitions to train as fighters or warriors. We have another scene that we saw from the first trailer where we see them contacting a rival tribe. And there's some hint of a love story, I think, between two certain characters. Again, I don't know any of the names involved with these Na'vi species. And then it looks from other scenes that they'll once again be battling a human threat. Again, just repeating the same beats as what we saw with the first film. I imagine we'll get some sort of family dysfunction when Jake wants to protect his younger siblings, but they want to rebel against him and further their own ambitions. We've seen this narrative play out so often within movies. We get that tired trope of the younger characters thinking they know everything, very arrogant, all self-knowing, but actual fact they don't know anything, very much defying the wishes of their parents. And really that's it in terms of this trailer. Now, I'm not expecting it to spoil the entire movie. I've commented previously, I think that's something that happens far too often, is that we get multiple trailers plus multiple TV spots telling us the whole plot of the film. So I'm not expecting them to reveal the entire story, but you just want a bit more of a hook to compel you as an audience. And as I've stated previously, fancy visuals will only take you so far. Now, of course, the awe and the majesty in terms of the visuals with the first film is now gone, because we've had multiple renditions of characters and sequences since the first movie. So the whole idea of Pandora and its constructs, the lure and the magic isn't quite as there as what we saw first time. And when we think about it, all of the famous franchises have lasted so long because primarily they are about great stories and great characters rather than the visuals or the action. And I'm sorry to say that Avatar just doesn't have that, whether it's the first film or anything from the recent trailers that we've seen. So I'm not hating on the film or saying it's going to fail. I'm just saying the recent impressions that I'm personally having from seeing these recent trailers. But despite all of this, I'm still going to stick my neck out and say that the movie will still go on to be the highest grossing of 2022. That title is currently held by Top Gun Maverick, standing at 1.4 billion. I assume with everything riding on this release that it will indeed get a release in China, which will help bolster its overall box office performance. And there's been recent discussion, particularly online and Twitter, about how James Cameron is unsure of how many people will care about this movie, whether the performance of this film will determine the releases of further sequels. We do know that he has filmed at least a second sequel back to back with this movie, and that he had one or two more sequels planned in the pipeline. And there's also been recent talk on Twitter about how this movie needs to make around $2 billion just to break even. Now, I don't believe that's the case, and I think, to be honest, this is just a lot of speculation in order to gain traction for the movie, just to garner some sort of controversial statement to get people interested. Because if you think about it logically, any movie, regardless of who's directing it or what studio is funding it, if it has to make $2 billion just to break even, I'd have to say anybody who's in charge of that movie needs to be fired. It's just not feasible, particularly in this current climate where we're just coming out of the pandemic, where people have got far more options in terms of streaming. It's just not feasible for a movie to make $2 billion just to break even. In that scenario, you'd probably want at least the movie to make another to 900 million in order to make some sort of profit. And can we honestly say that Avatar The Way of Water is going to get anywhere near those totals? And whilst I still believe it will gross between 1.5 and 1.8 billion, I really cannot see any scenario where it manages to top the 2.9 billion made from the first film. I just cannot see it having the same impact, and once again, the streaming initiatives have really diminished the whole cinematic going experience. We talk about the post-pandemic era and economics and people really saving their pennies now. They're not going to be willing to go to a cinema multiple times for a movie that essentially looks like the first one that they saw almost over 13 years ago. And going back to my original point about there being no particular hook in terms of the story or the narrative, we have to ask, is there the same amount of investment going into the sequel overall apart from the fancy visuals? And for me personally, after watching this trailer and all of the recent promotions and other marketing, I don't believe that there is enough here to make Avatar The Way of Water gross as much as the original, but I do still believe it will end up being the highest grossing movie of the year. Now, whether that's good enough for Disney or James Cameron for any future franchises plans, we will wait and see overall. So there's my quick thoughts and feelings on the final recent trailer of Avatar The Way of Water, and my overall assessment as to how big the movie will be and whether it will truly connect with audiences. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you still majorly hyped for the film? Do you think it will go on to be the most successful movie of 2022, or do you think it will fall just behind the likes of Top Gun Maverick and also Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Jurassic Park Dominion? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and as usual, when the film does release a month from now, I will provide both non-spoiler and spoiler reviews, as well as comment on the current box office performance, so look out for all of that commentary in the future. And if you have any other topics or movies or television series or any other subject matter that you'd like to see me cover, then also drop me a suggestion and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on those topics in the future. Please also hit the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.